because Jay, there's been developments, and we'll start with Sanchez first, that he could be leaving on a permanent deal to GALATASARAY, which I've said right. So how are you kind of feeling with that deal potentially going through?
Yeah, no, it's a League Cup first round fixture too late. But yeah, it's a transfer. It's exactly the level I think he'll be playing at. And yeah, I think obviously with Phillips, and we were talking just before the pod went live about Dorrington coming through as well. I think it's going to provide a pathway for players, and you're already starting to see a poorly performing Spurs youth squad from last season start to perform this year, because the more you see players that you played with a couple of years ago on that bench or getting appearances, the more you're going to try your damn hardest to get in the team. So everyone's worried about, what if we lose Romero? What if we lose Van de Ven to injury? But we had a Spanish striker that wasn't scoring goals in Soldado, and some young kid called Harry Kane got a chance, and look how that turned out. I'm not saying it's going to be the same level, but you've got to give these kids chances. I nearly burst into tears when I saw Harvey White left. I've been advocating for him to be our pivot for about 400 years, and it's not come into fruition. But yeah, to see Sanchez go, I think is skin off everyone's back now. It needed to happen, and it's finally happened.
And I think that's a big thing. I think we've spoken a lot about the great signings we've had in Maddison. But Gareth, I think offloading Sanchez is probably going to be a blessing in the sense that for him as a player as well to go and develop his trade elsewhere, and for us as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think our blessings that Galatasaray got through in their playoff game in the Champions League, because I think all of a sudden that becomes a more attractive move. Sanchez is going to play in the Champions League. I know it's Turkey, but they'll still look at that. He's going to play against Bayern Munich, Man United, big games. And from what I hear, Turkey's quite an interesting place to play football. It's very passionate, and but if Sanchez starts doing some of the things he was doing for us out there, he'll have bigger concerns. It won't be just verbal abuse. But no, look, I think it's another good decision because, as Jay alludes to, I've seen some people says, well, what happens if Romero Van de Ven gets injured? But if Sanchez isn't good enough, what does it matter? I would rather see an Ashley Phillips go on there. Even if he makes mistakes, he's young, he's going to learn. Sanchez, for me, he's a busted flush. He's not going to improve. He's had so many different managers. His confidence is rock bottom. But look, I feel a wee bit for him because I never thought he was a player who downed tools. I think he always tried his best, and I remember a goal against Watford he scored in the last minute. He was embarrassed to celebrate because of so much sort of stick he was getting. So I think he can never question his comeuppance, just lack of quality, poor recruitment. He should never have been here really. And in the end, I think it's a 1-1 for everybody. We get, I've seen the fees about €10 million. It's not much, but you get him off the books. It gives a pathway to Phillips, and I'm hearing a lot of good reports about Dorrington as well. He could be asked to come on. So again, it's a decision I don't think that would have happened a year ago. I think if it had been down to Conte, he was just, no, I can't let Sanchez go now. The transfer window is closed. I can't get a replacement. But I think that just shows you that I'm just going to embrace that youth. And if you look at the team, on Saturday, bar Son, everybody seems really young. They're all 20, 21, 22, 23. There's a couple older, but apart from Son, there's nobody in their 30s. So it's a complete flop day what we seen last year, where it was kind of old timers kind of playing. So no, I think it's a 1-1 for all parties, Hollie.
No, definitely. I think that's the thing. I think, like you said, I think he's had a lot of stick. I don't think all of it is warranted. I think seeing him being booed was definitely not a highlight of us as not all of us, but as certain Spurs fans individually. But Winnie, I think, like the boys all said, it is a win-win for both player and club.
Definitely. One thing I would never fault him for is his passion. He was fully Spurs. There's no doubt about that. But unfortunately, he just wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough for the previous systems, and he's definitely not good enough for this system. I do not want to see Davinson Sanchez trying to play football out from the back. So I think it's the right time. It's a good move for him. He will be playing football again. But I like the look of, as we've echoed already, I like the look of Phillips, and I like the look of Dorrington as well. So I think they look very much Ange type players. And I think it's a little bit there's a bit of hypocrisy from the Spurs fans, to be honest, because we talk about now saying, oh, if we let Sanchez go, who are we going to bring in? But then whenever Sanchez is named in the squad, they're kicking up a fuss. So I mean, you can't have, which way do you want it? Do you know what I mean? So it's a good move for him, and like we say, he's going to be playing Champions League football, and thankfully he's nowhere near our squad, and I'll take that.
No, definitely. And Winnie, I'm going to stay with you because obviously another player that's been echoing today is obviously Ndombele, and I think that's on a loan deal with an option to buy as well to the same club. And I think getting him off the books, even just in a loan deal, just pay some of it off, is definitely a good job for us.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm gutted about this one, and not now. I'm gutted because of what he could have been. If we look at this player when he was at Lyon, the ability that he has, he's got more ability in his left bloody toe than I've got, and in my whole body. This guy is insanely talented, but he just doesn't have the motivation, the work rate, all the stuff that that complements the ability. So it's a shame, but we need to get him off our books because we can't have him sitting there doing nothing. And yeah, good luck to him.
And I think that's the thing, Gareth. I think he's just never ever applied himself. I don't know. I wouldn't say he doesn't want to. I just don't know if he's necessarily got it in him. What do you kind of think it was? Do you think it's because it was a massive wage bracket at the bottom to Spurs? It was kind of like not motivated to do anything. How did you kind of see it?
I'm not sure, because I don't think he's someone that struggles with his ego, because he seems to, the way he dresses, the way he turns up at training, you think he's a star player, and I think it's a bit of a humbling for him that he's going to Galatasaray. The team's interested, like Genoa. I think moves to Napoli, and when he went back to first loan was to Lyon. They're kind of decent moves. I think now that he's had such a lack of interest, he's not pulled up any trees on his loans. These teams haven't come back in for him. Like Lo Celso, he had 2 loans to the same team. At least they were kind of interested. I don't think they could do the finances. As much as Lo Celso hasn't set the world on fire, he still runs around and gives tries. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if the English game probably suits him, but within Ndombele, I think this is his last chance, really. If it doesn't go well at Galatasaray, I think you could be in a situation next year where they're going to have to just pay up his contract and get him out, because the European window will close. This was his last real option, Turkey or Saudi Arabia. So you would think now this is going, because he's still a young man. He's not a player at the back end of his career. But as you said, I just don't think he applies himself. I don't think he wants to play football. I don't know. It's a really strange one, because as Winnie says, when he signed, and even in certain games, he's looked unplayable. But again, it's just one of them ones. It's a head scratcher, because I think it's solely down to his attitude and his application, because we've had so many different managers, not one of them's fancied him, not one.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that has given him a chance has quickly sidelined him. So there's definitely issues there with him. And as I said, hopefully this loan goes well for him, and Galatasaray come on and pay that fee that they've settled on. But the only worry is, if it does go well there, he might say, I don't fancy Galatasaray, I want to come back and I want to try and get a move somewhere else, and we're stuck again. So it's a catch-22.
I think that's the thing, Jeff. We're all kind of pinning our hopes that this is hopefully the dream loan move that will make him want to move to this club. Because like the boys have said, I don't know how we're going to get him off our books otherwise.
No, and it does seem that way. And it seems that that's the way football's going at the minute as a whole, with offloading players. It seems like clubs are capitalising on the fact that teams would rather offload a player for a season if it just means that they're not around the training ground, and it means that clubs don't have to pay big fees to get big players. A player like Ndombele could absolutely tear the Turkish Super League to shreds. And Galatasaray have got quite a few stars in their side. They lost Zaniolo, obviously, this season to Aston Villa. So he was there last year. So, maybe they need that creative player in the midfield. Maybe he'll fit that gap perfectly. But yeah, all of the football Twitter accounts in the Spurs space were very devastated that Ndombele is probably on his way out. The amount of compilations I saw pre-season of Let Him Cook this year, I was very excited. I was one of them egging them on, I won't lie. But, it's very much, it's just the way of football at the minute. And again, them lot down the road have really, to me, I'm not including Chelsea in this because they just offload their players to Saudi teams, but Arsenal really set the precedence of you need good vibes and you don't need players at your club that are going to cause trouble, and no one no price, no wage, no nothing is bigger than the club. And you know, I think it's really, really good business just to get him out of the way. Eric Dyer next, please.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I've seen comments in the comments that if Sanchez goes, that means that Dyer has a potentially another player. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Ange really buys into it. I think especially when we potentially saw that he was the one that voted against Sonny being captain. I don't think he's necessarily there for the vibes, as we said all evening. But hey, you know what? Onwards and upwards.